Yeah, episode 4 did excite me to watch the cartoons. This is the Review of Champions, and I'm your host, Grandmaster. With me is a powerful panel made up of the finest champions Sakar has to offer. Let me introduce them to you. First up, we have Mr. Taylor first. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Great to hear. Merv, how are you?
Fantastic.
And joining us for the first time in this series is Mr. Lord Deathman, voice only. How are you, man?
It's great to be back in the arena, my friend.
Good to hear your voice again. Today, we're going to talk about Part 3, Time to Fly, and Part 4, Fallen Jedi of Ahsoka. But before we do, I want to ask you all to help us out. Like and share this video and subscribe to our channel. And if you really can't get enough of us, you can join our ranks. Go to Sakar at sakar.freeform to set up that account, get to know us, and yes, you can even join us in our review or podcast. We would love to have you on the shows. Consider this your final warning. After this point, the spoilers are incoming, so if you haven't seen the episodes yet, do that first and then check out our review. Well, to do a quick summary of both episodes, Ahsoka and Sabine continue their chase of that map to stop the return of Thrawn and find Ezra Bridger. Hera wants to join them, but isn't allowed. Will that stop her? I think not, but we will discuss that now. Let's do a quick round of our quick thoughts, and then we take a deeper dive, and we end with a rating for both episodes. And that is our concept. So let's start with you, Taylor. Episode 3, episode 4. Give it to me. What did you think?
I think both episodes were great. I think these were the best 2 episodes of the season so far.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of very, very good things that we'll go in more detail about, but pretty much very minor exceptions. Overall, these were really great episodes.
Yeah, I agree, but I do have also some exceptions. But let's discuss that later. Mr. Lord Deathman, can I have your opinion? And if you want, you can throw in episode 1 and 2 as well.
Indeed. Well, look, about the series overall, I think that there's a progression of the episodes getting better and better with each new episode that debuts. I was a little lukewarm on episodes 1 and 2, but I think that really comes from me not knowing a lot about Ahsoka as a character. There are also some dynamics that I want to get into in the deep dive that I'll talk about in terms of the nuances of the performance that Rosario Dawson is giving. But as for 3 and 4, you have a good episode and then you have a great episode. So again, you've got this great uphill progression for the show. And that means it's going in the right direction.
Yeah. Oh, that's good to hear. I totally agree, actually. Merv, are you on board with our opinions as well?
Yeah. Yeah. I hate to, just to ring the same statements, but I think episode 3 was good. I thought episode 4 was great. I think the pacing in particular is really well done. The action sequences are not letting me get bored too often. There's a couple minor nitpicky things in regards to some storyline moments and character portrayals, but other than that, it's really enjoyable, highly entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm gonna throw my biggest grievance, which I actually wrote opening statement for episode 3, which we never recorded. Because nobody had time. I do like my callbacks. I mean, Avengers Endgame is one of my favorite movies because of all the callbacks for the 22 or 21 preceding movies. However, episode 3 had a callback, almost a copy of a scene from the original Star Wars movie, which actually was a little bit cringy to me. Merv, am I the only one who thought that, or was that a little bit over the top? And yeah, what was the point?
No, it definitely gave me strong member berries, as I call them, or as they're called. You
Mhm.
know, it would, like you said, it was almost it felt almost like a carbon copy. And I get it. It's everything that's been around as long as Star Wars does these little things that are like, oh, you remember when this happened? But yeah, it definitely felt like, okay, I've seen this before, and
Yeah,
did
it
this bring
was.
anything new to the table?
To me, it was a bit too much on the nose. Can I have a deep dive as well, Merv?
Yep. In regards to the negatives, I'll just get those out of the way. Uh, it's not a strong negative, but I do. Rosario Dawson with Ahsoka is doing this kind of like, it feels like she's doing like a wise sage mentor kind of thing, but it comes across as really sleepy all the time. And I don't know what it is about it that's like throwing me off a little bit, but it's just like I almost want her to just get a little bit more open-eyed and adrenaline pumping sometimes. You know, it doesn't have to be all the time, but I definitely get the sense that like it almost like sometimes when she's talking, it feels like she's like trying to lull people to sleep, and I'm just like I don't want to fall asleep watching the show. So I don't know, maybe that's just me. But that was a small thing. The bureaucratic stuff with like the senators and Mon Mothma. It's cool to see Mon Mothma, but like some of the senators were laying it on pretty thick with like, we should probably be on the lookout for these guys because they're like borderline pro Empire at this point, and it's like it felt like it wasn't even trying to be subtle. Like it was like we're like, hey, there's maybe some Empire problems. They're like, no, they swore allegiance to us. They're fine. Don't forget about those guys. You know, so that kind of came across as a little like, is nobody paying attention in the room here? You know?
Yeah, it feels a little bit like a trope that has been used too many times. The government officials that don't see any danger and just ignore the warnings. I mean, yeah, come on.
It came across so thick in that conference call that they had with
Yeah.
Hera, that I was just like, how is nobody speaking up about that? Like, you know, if they're not investigating at least two of those senators behind the scenes, then the Republic deserves to fall at this point. But those are really my only like nitpicky negatives about the show at this point. Like I said, I think the action is great. Episode 3 had some really cool space battles. It had Ahsoka flying around in space with a lightsaber, actually taking ships out of the sky. So that was pretty cool. The I really like the dynamic in particular between Ahsoka, Sabine, and Huang. I don't know, whatever the robot is, especially in these two episodes because they're kind of like alone together. So you get a lot of like interaction between them, and I really think that it helps me who hasn't seen Rebels like get to know how these characters interact more. So that was pretty cool. Episode 4 was great pretty much the entire time. I mean, it felt like it was nonstop fight sequence after fight sequence after fight sequence that also layered in story and interwove like character moments in there. Like it told me a lot while it was swinging sabers and people were getting destroyed and all this stuff. And it was just really entertaining, like start to finish. I can't say enough again about all the characters. I feel like coming back to Rosario Dawson, like Ahsoka might be my least interested character, like the one that I don't really care about as much. All the other characters I'm like super into. The Lord Balin and Shin, I really enjoy their dynamic. Lord Balin, Ray Stevenson is fantastic here at RIP. But anytime he gets a chance to talk to people, I am like glued to the screen. He draws me right into whatever he's got his own motive, and it doesn't even matter if he's actually evil, if he's actually good. Like I'm just in it for whatever he's talking about. You know, he has so much charisma on the screen. And I think they led into quite a bit of like potential Shin Sabine, almost like a rivalry dynamic there, and I think it's going to even go further now that Sabine's kind of in with them as a prisoner or whatever's going on, at the end of episode 4. So I'm really curious to see how that kind of works. I hope it doesn't do like the classic thing, which is to have Shin just go full blown jealousy, and I hope they surprise me a little bit there with the way the storyline's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the Hu Yang versus the MK droid to start the fight sequence off was fantastic. I love droids. I say it every episode. But that was great. All the little action sequences. I was surprised they killed the Inquisitor off. Presumably, I don't know. Like green mist came out of him, so I thought maybe that would be like some kind of a reveal, like who this is, or if it plays a bigger dynamic. But I'm perfectly fine if he's just henchman number 3, and we had to kill somebody, and they sliced him open, and that was a cool fight, and that again showed how strong Ahsoka was. It as a character, she feels real strong. I just wish she was a little more personable in some of these episodes as far as the character goes. But
yeah, okay.
Yeah. Overall, I'm just really these 2 episodes like really stuck it for me. I'm really glued to this series now.
So now
really,
you're invested. Yeah. Okay.
I'm fully invested now. If it wasn't a fully rocky start, but I'm definitely into it now.
Well, I agree. But Taylor, shouldn't this show have been called Sabine? Because I think she's the main character.
Well, possibly.
She's the most interesting character, at least.
Ahsoka's the more recognized name, so you put her name in the title. That's why it's.
Yeah,
Hawkeye,
she's Dave Filoni's love child, like that.
Yeah. Exactly. But I think both of them are doing well. Ahsoka, yeah, she's a little laid back, but I don't know if that's what she's going for. She's kind of a grizzled veteran at this point. She's been through a lot, I guess, up to this point, and that's what she's playing. She's kind of trying to play the mentor. But overall, let me just pile on with the negative for episode 3. Yeah, that stuff with the Senate. Oh my God. Yeah, 2 dark Jedi broke a witch out of custody, and they took a giant light speed engine from a shipyard that's run by a bunch of Imperial loyalists. I want to take a few ships and go check that out. Nah, I don't think there's anything bad going on there. Don't worry about that. No, you can't go. Yeah. And the worst part is it wasn't even needed for a story beat, because the next episode she just went anyway. When they could have, so why didn't they just have them say, okay, you can go, but you can only take 4 X-wings with you because we're busy doing other stuff. We need the fleet for other things, but you can go and check it out.
I think it's that she still does her thing.
What?
She can throw in that line: once a rebel, always a rebel. That's why they do it.
Exactly, to show what a badass she is. But we already all know she's a badass. We didn't need to make the whole Senate look like a bunch of morons for her to be a badass.
Well, I saw actually that she was. Oh no, she had a good ass. That's what on the board. But anyway, I digress. Continue, Taylor. Sorry for interrupting.
Okay. So anyway, that was my only negative for episode 3. The rest of episode 3 was great. The space battle was really spectacular. I loved seeing the space whales show up, and I loved them, landing on that planet. And they actually, perfect spot to end the episode. It was a short episode. Don't matter. That was the right place to end it. I don't care how long episodes are. That's one of the benefits of streaming. And then for episode 4, spectacular. The visuals were gorgeous. The action scenes and the lightsaber battles were gorgeous. The dialogue throughout was gorgeous. Was great, especially like when Ahsoka and Baylan talking while they were fighting. And then we got to the end. I love seeing Force Ghost Anakin, but what the hell? So now Force Ghost can step in and save you from certain death. I mean, does anything matter anymore? I understand the Force is magic, blah, blah, blah. And I know there is something in the cartoons that allude that apparently they've done this in the cartoons. I haven't seen it myself.
The world between worlds, they call it.
World between worlds, whatever that means. Deus Ex Machina is what it's also referred to as. But yeah, but all I'm going to say is if Anakin says, it's not your time, Ahsoka, I am going to throw something at the TV. Okay?
Yeah. It's Lila versus Rocket Raccoon all over again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I would have loved it so much better if at the final scene, they panned down that cliff and she was hanging on some tiny little outcrop or something. And then Anakin Force Ghost appeared and just motivated her, use the Force, did something like that, rather than him saving her from falling to her death and pulling her into the void or whatever the heck that is. So again, and then because then the question comes up, well, why don't you do that all the time? Why did you save everybody?
Yeah.
But other than that, spectacular couple of episodes.
Yeah, I especially love the visuals during the fight between Ahsoka and Lord Balin, with that map portrayed between the henge, and that absolutely looked gorgeous, gorgeous. It almost felt like a cartoon. It was that good, the visuals.
Yeah.
But anyway, Mr. Lord Deathman, I give you now all the time and space you need. Well, to talk about time and space.
Indeed. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I have to say, I am a convert now. I am a fan of Ahsoka. And it took some doing, because again, I consider myself pretty on the casual spectrum when it comes to Star Wars. And I had actually even watched 2 seasons maybe of Clone Wars way back in the day when that had first come out. So I was like, oh, I know a little bit about Ahsoka. And I remember at the time, everyone has this kind of rewrite of history about Ahsoka. But I recall she was a pretty hated character when she debuted. People kind of didn't like the fact that, she was always meddling and kind of not cool with authority, no matter who that authority was. She wasn't like, I'm really surprised to see, or maybe I shouldn't be, that she has kind of made this 180 in the mind of fans and become so beloved now that she's all grown up. If not for Disney Plus, I would have never been able to get a handle on the character because they've got this nice curated section now of Ahsoka episodes of like key Ahsoka stuff that you can just watch. And I was like, okay, cool. I don't have to watch a decade's worth of Clone Wars and then catch up on Rebels to kind of so for those who are claiming that Disney Plus is giving them cancer or that it's radioactive, it can be useful to help you get the lay of the land when it comes to some of the lore nuggets. So yeah, I have to share Merv's initial impressions of Rosario Dawson's performance. There was something that really just seemed sedate about the whole thing. And again, much like Merv, I got the feeling that she was trying to play Zen master, the whole kind of kung fu archetype, Padawan, this is what you need to do. But she had never completed her Jedi training, and now she's kind of being asked to be a Jedi master. It was hard to get into that conflict and how she's trying to play it. She just wasn't able to summon the kind of urgency that you would expect in a kind of melodrama like Star Wars. She was really playing it very subdued is the word that I'll use. And she's a great actress. We've seen her be great in Daredevil and a whole bunch of other genre type stuff where we know she can act. But I think just some of her early choices here. But that totally changes for me by episode 3, which is where my interest in the series really starts to pick up. I do understand the complaints that both Merv and Taylor have surrounding some of the bureaucracy of the Senate, although it was kind of cool to see Mon Mothma because I've got this little Mon Mothma crush. It's always great to see Genevieve doing her thing. And I kind of said, you know what, I'm going to write this off because you always make the New Republic seem like incompetent bureaucrats in Star Wars, right? Like that's their overall role, to be incompetent and indecisive. And then there's a hero that's going to take action and do their thing. So was this the best implementation of that Star Wars cliche? I don't know. But at the same time, I was willing to just ride with it for the sake of the genre. So we do get the hero getting to be a rebel. When she gets out on the wing of the ship, that was a boss move. There's just no other way to say that. I was really surprised by it. I was shocked. I was like, lightsabers versus starships. Yeah, you kind of haven't gotten this in Star Wars, and I don't know if this has happened in the cartoons before, but I was kind of like, okay, now I'm invested. This is great action. And even as implausible as it might have seemed, it was totally friggin' cool to see her clip the wing of one of those fighters and show, I came to play. My training may not be complete, but it's enough for you to take Ahsoka seriously. But even when she goes back into the ship and she's talking with the droid Hu Yang, and again I'm probably mispronouncing that like everybody else on the show. People are just doing their own pronunciations for that droid, so you can just make it a which way adventure. But when she gets back in and even before she got out on the wing, again, the urgency just wasn't really there in her performance. It was like another day in the office when she's telling Sabine what they need to do. And so I'm not sure where she was coming from in terms of the choices, but that was still a great episode. And I was willing to forgive almost all of the story contrivances that happen in it because the action is so great. And I think Rosario Dawson's presence finally starts to show, especially in the action. By the time you get to episode 4, forget about it. Yeah, I'm going to be there till the end. That was Star Wars, right? Filoni really has his pulse on what you need to tell Star Wars stories in a fresh way, but use all of the elements that are so familiar to the fans and so beloved by the fans. When Balin starts to get into Ahsoka's head during that saber fight, I'm like, this is what Star Wars is all about. The bad guy doesn't just kind of whack you with a lightsaber. He a good villain plays it on both levels, psychological and physical. So they had the fight there in terms of the moves. Rosario finally brings the urgency you need, the emotion that makes a really great saber fight in terms of like having a good dance partner or doing a little ballet or whatever you want to use for your metaphor. It feels like it's there. The A-B stories cutting between Sabine in the forest, going against I think that's Shin, if I'm not mistaken, Balin's apprentice, if they are Sith or Gray Jedi or whatever it is they're doing. I don't have all the lore nuggets committed to memory, but yeah, the two stories going back and forth were edited beautifully, just cutting back and forth between them, and you feel this cathartic release when Sabine, finally takes it to her opponent, using Mandalorian technique and not necessarily leaning on Jedi stuff. She's like, "You have no power," and I was like, "Oh my God, she's gonna get killed here." But then she does a Mando, and like some bullshit comes out of her. Sorry, kids. Sorry for the cussing, but yeah, some BS comes out of her wrist, and I'm like, okay, great save there. And okay, so the world between worlds thing, I'm gonna give it to Taylor. That was weird. I don't know anything about that particular part of the lore, and but more so than the whole contrivance of, you're on the cusp of life and death, and you need somebody who's passed away to help you say it's not your time yet. I think the weirder thing for me was that they did some de-aging that just didn't quite hold up, I guess, on my TV. The Dolby Atmos kind of showed me some pixels when that smile comes on one side of his face. So it did look a little weird, a little uncanny valley, and it did take me out of it for a second. But generally across the board with series, Ray Stevenson killing it. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, whether you're looking at her from the front or the back, killing it. Rosario Dawson, finally in the game to play in episode 4, killing it. David Tennant, the young lady who's playing Shin, all of them are really giving their best here. The only thing that I think that they could cut from this series and not miss a beat for me is probably Jason, the green-haired child of General Hera. He can take a powder for the rest of the series as far as I'm concerned. And I know this has been a long rant, but there's one thing that I want to say, and one final thing I want to say about the series and about Star Wars in general. When I watched Ahsoka, it is so obvious that Star Wars, in its DNA, is built for both adults and children to enjoy equally. And you have to give Star Wars, Filoni, Lucas, even Kennedy, a lot of credit for making it so that you can enjoy these stories on two different levels. If I were to be talking about Marvel and you put a kid in there, people are automatically going to lose their mind and be like, "Oh my God, it's too kiddie and this and that and the other thing," right? But they managed to seamlessly incorporate telling the story on a level where this can be enjoyed by preteens, teenagers, and adults of all ages. And I'm really, really blown away by how they're able to do that. So when I criticize Jason as a character, or however you pronounce his name, Hera's son, it's not criticizing the idea that this is made to be enjoyed by children. It's just I don't like him as a child actor. So that's my take on it. It's a very good show, and I'm looking forward to more of it.
Yeah, okay. Couldn't say have said it better myself. You know what? Let's do a rating then. For, well, both episodes, you can do it one number, you can give both a separate number, whatever you desire or want. Mr. Lord Deadman, I'm going to start with you.
All right. So since I wasn't here, I'm gonna kind of do my whole 4 episode ratings. And I'm climbing the ladders. Like I said, I seriously mean that the show is just getting better and better with each episode. I start with a 6 at episode 1, go to a 7 for episode 2, an 8 for 3, and then now a 9 for episode 4. It's really good stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, okay. Merv?
I'll give episode 3 an 8 and episode 4 a 9. Loved
Okay.
episode 4.
Basically, same as Lord Deadman. Taylor?
I give both episodes a 9. I think one thing I haven't mentioned is I'm pretty sure Balin was doing a Jedi mind trick on Sabine there at the end to get her to give up the map. But it may have just been he was so convincing and she was so sad. But it felt like he was doing a little bit more than just convincing her. But anyway, I'm really interested to see what happens now that they're across the galaxy with her as a prisoner. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for both.
Okay. I'm going to go both 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed both episodes. Absolutely. The show has picked up. I'm invested. Like I said in my opening, it does now incite me to watch the cartoons. I actually watched some of it earlier this morning. But yeah, I'm still holding back a little bit because I think the best is yet to come. And I wasn't too keen on that final scene with Anakin Skywalker in it as well. To me, it was a bit like, did I need that? And I didn't. It was put there to be a cool moment, like I think it was Taylor said. It would have been much better if she was hanging on to her life and then was motivated somehow by a Force Ghost and Anakin to use the Force. I agree. I think that was you, right, Taylor? Who said that? So yeah. Yeah. So the World Between Worlds, I wasn't too impressed with. But overall, really solid. I'm invested, and I can't wait to see where the second half of the show is going. So, well, that will conclude this week's review of Champions for Part 3, Time to Fly, and Part 4, Fallen Jedi of Ahsoka. We hope you have enjoyed our discussion today. If you did, you can help us out. Like and share this review and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you really want more of us, you can join our forum at sakar.freeforums.net. We would love it if you join us. For now, I want to thank you all, also on behalf of our champions, and wish you to be safe and be well. Bye.